It is a first down. Pirates.
You can paint this one purple. What an incredible win by the ECU Pirates.
Welcome into Blackbeard's Alley, a Pirate football podcast. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Be sure to like, follow, comment, and subscribe. As you see there on the screen, we are joined by ECU Hall of Famer and the author of I Am a Pirate, and that's, of course, Dickie Corrada. Dickie, we appreciate your time this evening.
Yeah, Bubba, thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. There you see your book, I Am a Pirate. I've had the opportunity to read about the first 20 pages so far, really enjoying it. So tell Pirate Nation, what compelled you to write a book about your experiences at ECU back in the late 60s and early 70s?
The main thing I think were my teammates. We did an exercise last fall where I would send out profiles and talk about my teammates. And they said, man, you should write a book. And then later I found out that no athlete at ECU has ever written a book about their entire career at East Carolina. So I said, man, maybe I should do this. And then with help from encouragement, I should say, from my teammates and several at ECU, that's why I did it. And I've loved every minute of it.
I could imagine. Folks have told me down through the years, even though I'm just an honorary ECU alumnus, as they would say, because I played small college football elsewhere. But people have said, hey, with the way you follow the program, you should write a book. I can imagine the type of undertaking it was. Nothing's ever as easy as it seems, no matter how much you know about the subject matter, or in your case, you live the subject matter. But take us back to your time at ECU. I guess what you grew up in Virginia Beach, and just how you made it to East Carolina, how you chose to be a Pirate.
Well, actually, I'm from Chesterfield County, which is a suburb of Richmond, Virginia. And so, of course, I played football and baseball at Meadowbrook High School. And I had a really good junior and senior year. And and then at that point, I knew I wanted to play college football and baseball, if possible, on the college level. So East Carolina offered me, I had several offers. ECU offered me a football scholarship. And my girlfriend, who was a year older when I was a senior, she was a freshman at ECU. So she kept telling me about how great ECU was. So I went there. They had offered me the scholarship. I went there on a recruiting visit, fell in love with it. I said, this is where I want to go. So we contacted my baseball coach, contacted Earl Smith, who was the baseball coach at ECU. He said, look, Dickie's got a full ride at ECU. He wants to play baseball. So that really never went anywhere. So I never really signed my papers because I was talking to other schools. I wanted to play both sports. I found out that's not common at all. Sid Thrift, a super scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates at the time, came to my high school, not to see me, but to see one of my teammates. After he visited my teammate, Johnny Grubb, by the way, who played 16 years in the major leagues, my coach said, can you work out Dickie? So Sid Thrift, who was a big-time scout, well-renowned in the scouting business in Major League Baseball. So he works me out at shortstop, watch me take batting practice, and he says, "Dickie, where are you going? What are you doing?" So I said, "Look, I've narrowed my choice down to ECU. I've got a full ride football, but I want to play baseball too." He said, "Okay." He said, "Let me call Coach Smith." I found this out later. I didn't know if he would have called, or he's a busy guy, right? He did call, and about a week later, Earlene Hollis, who was the athletic director's secretary, admin, calls me and says, "Hey, listen, you now have a split scholarship between football and baseball." I was floored. So he actually followed through with that. Earl Smith, the baseball coach, Hendrick Van Sant, the guy who recruited me, got together, worked it out, and I was so happy. And that's how I got to play both sports.
So first, let's hone in on football. Of course, during those years, during the 1960s, East Carolina had so much success under Clarence Stasevich. Coach Stass had come over from Lenore-Rhine back in the early 60s. What are your memories of Coach Stass and in those first opportunities you had to get to know him?
Coach Stass was quite a character. That's what I can say with that. He was very successful. He ran the single wing. Single wing offense is a running offense. And it was funny, when I went on my recruiting trip, I can't remember who they played, but they were passing everywhere. They were completing passes, throwing long passes. I went, man, this is a pretty cool offense. Because I like to catch passes. I was a split end in high school. I caught 65 passes in 8 games my senior year. So anyway, it's really a running offense. And so I played wing back in the backfield. It was fun. Coach Stass was, they called him the dean of the single wing. I'm not sure he invented it, but he sure talked like he invented it. He was quite a character. He was very sarcastic. He had this long Southern drawl. We had some issues at first, but we got along fine after that.
Yep. Even though that was well before my time, I've certainly heard a lot about Coach Stass, and my dad, as I've mentioned to you, he's class of '76. So you can imagine how much he told me about Clarence Stasevich, and obviously after his coaching time, I mean, went on, or he was also an athletic director as well.
Yes.
But I guess prior to your senior season, you had Mike McGee as head coach, and
Mike McGee, yeah,
and then Sonny Randall, who had been an excellent player in his own right. I guess New York Giants, is that correct?
Mostly St. Louis.
St. Louis.
St. Louis. I think he played there for like 7-8 years, and then I'm not sure. He went to Dallas, and then he went to Washington at the end of his career. But he was like all pro 4 years. Had like 67 touchdowns. He went to UVA. Did very well at UVA. A fantastic receiver. And then, anyway, I think Dallas, it was either Dallas or Redskins, I can't remember, was his last, during that football season. That was his last year. And the next football season, Mike McGee hired him to be the receiver coach at ECU. So here I am, who've been stifled for 2 years. Freshmen couldn't play varsity back then. I had been kind of stifled because we didn't have a real good passing attack. And then all of a sudden, I get Sonny Randall to be my personal coach. It was fantastic. He was a great guy, taught me so much. I can't thank him enough. He passed away, I think, in 2017. But after my last year, which was my senior year, we stayed close and were friends and would talk and all that kind of stuff. We had a special relationship.
If you would elaborate a little bit about Coach Randall, because I know he is quite the character. In addition to being an excellent football coach and obviously player, and after that time at East Carolina, also UVA, he also had been the head coach at Marshall, which is something I learned growing up when I was a teenager and watched him. He was a color analyst on some regional broadcast.
After he left us, he went to UVA. Well, first of all, he was after my senior year was his. Mike McGee was only there 1 year. Mike left. We immediately hired Sonny. Sonny stayed for 3 or 4 years. I can't remember. I think maybe just 3. Won 2 Southern Conference championships. UVA had fired their coach, so we all knew thought we knew what could happen. And he was an honorable mention All-American at UVA. Grew up in Fork Union, which is not far from UVA. So they hired him, and I don't think he could. He told me, he said, I couldn't turn it down. I'd always wanted to be there. At that time, UVA was not doing very well, so he thought he could turn it around. He did not. I think after 3 or 4 years at UVA, he got the axe, and I think he went to Marshall. I know he went to Marshall. He may not have gone directly, but he went to Marshall, coached there 2 or 3 years, then went into broadcasting, and that's probably where you saw him doing the color and all that on the Marshall football side.
Correct. Yeah, it was calling the action for a Marshall game, be it against App State or whoever it was.
Yeah.
But what are some of your top memories at ECU on the football field?
Wow, there's so many. My favorite is against Southern Illinois, my senior year, when I caught 14 passes in the game, which was a record that I held for 42 years. It was not broken until 2012 by Justin Hardy, who I talked to this past weekend because he was inducted in the Hall of Fame. What a great guy. And I talked to him before, but I hadn't seen him since he left, whatever that 9 years ago. So that was a memorable game for me. And I can almost remember every play, every reception that I made. Another one that's not so happy time was when we played Marshall. 1970, they came to our place. We had a tough game. I mean, a really, really tough game. And we won 17-14. An hour later, they left and to go back to Huntington. And I think an hour or so after that, their plane crashed. So that's a memory that me and my teammates, we think about it, we talk about it. It's just like the weirdest, I don't know how to describe it, but we were in shock. We were just in total shock after that happened. So those are the 2 things I think that stand out. And the other one, I guess, is I've already mentioned it, was here I've got this all-pro receiver who had just played like the previous fall, and he's coaching me and telling me do this, do that. I mean, what a special, very lucky. I was very, very lucky. What a special time that was.
One of the things I know you mentioned in the book, and we'll talk more about the way the book is structured and so forth here in a few minutes, but one of those things you mentioned is just how very fortunate you were to be playing baseball in the spring and not have to go through spring football practice, and that your teammates on the football side were certainly envious of you.
They were, and I don't know how. Like I say, Coach Van Sant, Coach Smith worked it out. It had never, Bubba, it had never been done before, and I'm almost 99 or 100% sure it has never been done at ECU. I'm the only one that's ever had that situation. There have been football players. There have been football players who played baseball, but they were on a straight football scholarship. They had to go to spring drills their freshman year, and then they had to make sure they went out for the baseball team, and if they started, Coach Stats would let them miss spring drills. So they had all this criteria, and that's what Coach Van Sant told me. When I kept asking him, I said, Coach, I want to play baseball too. He told me, he said, son, you go be a football player. And then he went through the drill of how I could also play baseball, which turned out to be true because some of those guys did it. But yeah, I was so lucky to be able to do that. I think I mentioned in the book, I played football in the fall and baseball in the spring, just like it's supposed to be.
So shifting over to the baseball side, you mentioned legendary Earl Smith. I remember going to see the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame and seeing his picture there. But what can you tell us about Coach Smith? He's someone that we've, I think you probably know Dennis Barber. And we've talked to Dennis Barber on my baseball podcast, Jungle Tales, about Coach Smith and some of the things that went on in that era.
Yeah, I know Dennis. He was a catcher, I believe, a backup catcher or something.
Yes, sir. Dennis was a catcher.
Okay. Coach Smith. Wow, what a character he was. He's also in the ECU Hall of Fame. He was old school, okay? He was very old school. He wanted things done right. He wanted them done his way, but he was such a lovable person. He was a great guy, and I remember the first meeting I had with him. Oh, he came to after I'd already sent my papers back. I had never seen Coach Smith, never talked to Coach Smith, and here I had a split scholarship because of the Pittsburgh Pirates coach. So about a month later, it was in the middle of the summer, July or sometime, I don't know. I'm playing a Legion game. I finished the game and I see my parents talking to these two guys. I had no idea who they were. And I walk up and Dad says, Dickie, this is Coach Smith and Coach Williams. And I went, wow. They had never seen me play. I'd never talked to them, but I had a half a baseball scholarship. So I thought that was interesting the way that turned out. Anyway, he said, son, after we talked for a while, he said, I talked to Sid Thrift, which I knew. He said, I'll tell you what, I want you to be my shortstop for the next 4 years. I went, sounds great to me. Let's do it. So that was my first conversation. I had already signed. He'd never called me, never seen me play until that night. So, and then of course I go to school and I'm playing freshman football. So they're having fall baseball. So I don't know what goes on went over there. I was playing football. So in the winter, probably around February, I went the whole year, never talked to him, never saw him. I mean, I don't know if I saw him or not. So he wants to meet with me. So I get to his office and he goes, ask me how's it going and stuff like that. And he's a really nice guy. So he said, well, he says, he said, shortstop is pretty stacked now. We got 2 or 3 senior upperclassmen in front of you. So, I don't know how much you're going to play. And I started to say, well, hey, what about that? Me being the shortstop for the next 4 years. What happened to that? So anyway, he talks like that. And it certainly wasn't a motivating meeting. he was telling me about how little I was going to play. So I got up. I said, "Thank you for the meeting. Can't wait for baseball practice to start, and I'm going to beat those guys out." And he just was floored. He didn't know what to say. So I left, and then I started the second game. I didn't start the first game. I started the second game. Then I maybe won a couple more games without starting, and then after about their sixth game, I started every game from my freshman through my senior year. And yeah, he was a great guy. He was so funny. His favorite words were "That's all," and "That's all by God." And if he was really pissed, he'd say, he'd call them semi-pro bastards. One day, it was my freshman year, after about 2 weeks or so, and we were playing, and I was a shortstop. Ground ball to second base. He flipped it to me to turn a double play. I was getting ready to throw it, and the runner ran straight at me. He never slid. He never tried to, and I held the ball. It never happened in high school. It never happened before. I'd never seen that happen before. We got out of the inning okay, and I got back to the dugout, and he was mad as hell. He was cussing, raising hell. He said, "Why didn't you throw the damn ball to first base?" I said, "Coach, I would have hit him right in the head." He said, "Well, the next time that happens, you throw at that semi-pro bastard's head, and that bastard will get down." And it happened a couple weeks later. Same thing. I don't know why these idiots do that, because they can get hurt. Same thing. It's almost exactly. I took it and I threw it right at his head, and he got down. He was 8 feet from second base and hit the dirt. But anyway, that's the kind of guy he was. He was quite a character.
Of course, the Pirates have had so much success in baseball down through the years, and I guess what about a little less than a decade, prior to your arrival, maybe about 5 years prior to your arrival, they had won that NAIA national championship. Is that something in the recruiting process? Were you aware of that?
I was not. No, I was just happy. I knew they had a good program, and they had been to the regionals, I think, in '64 and '66. I knew they had a really good program. I was just so happy that I could play both sports, and that was the only school that would even consider me playing both sports. So I really did know that. My freshman year, which was '68, we went to the regionals, beat Florida State, which was the number one team in the country. I thought we were going to go back to the regionals every year. I said, "This is so much fun." My sophomore year, we didn't make it. My junior year, we went back. My senior year, we didn't make it. So I was lucky to have 2 years in the regionals with a chance to go to Omaha. Back then, there wasn't a super regional. So if you won your regional, you went to Omaha. But we didn't do it.
Now, one of your teammates during those years was Ron Hastings, correct? His son Joseph was a teammate of Cliff Godwin on that 2001 Super Regional team.
Yes, Ron Hastings was a great pitcher for us. I think his junior year he led the nation in ERA with like about a .056. Great pitcher. I think I may have met his son, but I know he was I think he was third team All-American or something like that.
Yeah, Joseph Hastings. I definitely have fond memories of his Pirate career and the bombs that he would hit alongside Chad Tracy and Cliff Godwin and Lee Delfino and that unbelievable lineup that we had in 2001.
Okay.
But Kenny Curlings and then John White, appreciate them chiming in via YouTube. Kenny says, "Thank you for being a great Pirate," and then he was laughing at one of the stories there. Kenny, if you want to clarify, was that about the the play at second base, or what was that in regards to? And then John White, who pitched for Gary Overton in the late '80s and early '90s, he said, what an experience, that he loves your book and thanks for sharing your experiences. I know he, as soon as he found out about it, he purchased a copy.
That's nice. That's nice. I've had a lot of success so far. I've had book signings with which you saw one day, and I had two this past weekend on Saturday that were very successful. Everybody, I'm not just saying this. I've had such great reviews from my book. I put in there on the front page, I said, please let me know what you think of my book. And I give them my email address. And a lot of people have responded back, and it's been so positive. And they all say, and most of them are pirates that are pirates that went to school. They said, man, you took me back in time. You made me remember things that I'd kind of forgotten. Thanks for the trip. Stuff like that. And it's been, and I obviously, when you spend so much time doing something like a book, and you have no idea if anybody's going to like it or everybody's going to like it, you just don't know. You don't know. And the main thing I was concerned about, was my football teammates. I said, they have got to like this book, because if they don't like it, then I'm in trouble. But they have all been so appreciative and so positive about my book. And they've told people, the word spread. So most of my sales have been either through word of mouth, like this podcast. I was on the Sports Objective, and I was also on help me 94.3.
94.3 The Game with Patrick Johnson.
I was with Patrick Johnson, and then before that I was on 94.3 with Phil prior to one of the games. Those guys are great. They are so awesome. Yeah, so that's how the words got out, and putting it on certain websites and stuff like that. So I haven't paid for any advertising, but the word's out, and it's at UBE. I think it was. I guess I don't know if they have copies or not, but I think so. But you can buy the book on eBay. That's the best way to do it. It's easy. It's quick. They track it. And I talk about everything, Bubba. I talk about my love for my teammates. I talk about my teammates and coaches. And most of all, I think what came through was my love for ECU. I mean, I just love ECU, always have. And this is a kind of a way to express that. But I talk about games. I don't just talk about the games. I talk about all my meetings with coaches, talk about the locker room, the dugout, the huddle, the famous elbow room bar, which was a big hangout. So I talk about all that kind of stuff. And it's not just we played the Citadel 1 4-4, 4-3 or something like that. I talk about that, but in a sense that, all right, this is what happened after the game when we broke curfew and went into Charleston, stuff like that.
Of course, all those stories that folks enjoy hearing that you couldn't share at the time. But what are some of the other things that are in the book, such as I know you have a chapter specifically dedicated to the 1970 team and the Marshall plane crash, and the book itself is what, about 280 pages?
Yeah, 287 or something, I think. Yes, and I honor my teammates. I've got their profiles in there, and I talk about my relationship that I had with those guys. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot in there, but everybody tells me it's an easy read, and several people have told me they couldn't put it down once they started. One of my teammates said he finished it in 2 hours, and he's never read a book in 2 hours or something like that. That kind of thing. But I talk about everything. I talk about my career, how I felt about stuff, and I tried to make the reader feel like he was right beside Dickie Corrada. That's what I tried. And I think I've been successful in that. Many people have told me that. I felt like I was right with you, during this game or during this at the elbow room or wherever it was, That's what I tried to do. And I think that it's been successful. I should add that all net proceeds will go to the Pirate Club. So I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it, and I'm busting it to hopefully get there one day. It might not be this year, it might be next year. And then I'm looking forward to like baseball. See, this is football season, so everybody's interested in the football part. I talk about 4 seasons of football, 4 seasons of baseball, and then I talk about when I was a graduate assistant football coach. I talk about when I signed with Kansas City Royals and played. This guy says,
Yeah, Kenny Curling's chiming in once again, Dick, via YouTube. He says the elbow room. He said, now I got to give me a copy of the book. Sounds like an amazing read.
Kenny, I hope so. I hope you get it. Go on eBay and you can get it. And the good thing about eBay, they let me know as soon as you buy it. So if I know it, if you buy it tomorrow, I'll have time. And I'll mail it on what's tomorrow. I'll mail it on Friday, and you'll have it in a couple of days. But yeah, it's been a great. It took me about 5 months or so took me 5 months to write it. And I tell people, luckily, this past winter in the Richmond area was January and February, just brutal cold. So I like to play golf, but you couldn't play golf. So I kind of started it in January, maybe getting it together in December, and then started. And then I just devoted a couple hours a day writing it. And it was like finished at the end of May. Then we had to do the cover. That was a fun part of doing the book. We did it in the stadium. It was in July. In the morning, we stayed about an hour. Me and Bethany Bradshaw, who is my editor, who just made it so. I don't know if I could have done it with her. She was awesome. We would meet every week. I'd write a couple chapters, send it to her. She would edit it, and then we would talk, and we would go through these 2 or 3 chapters, and then I would do the same thing every week. I tried to get 2 or 3 chapters to her. So, but she was fantastic through the whole process.
Kenny says, "Yes, sir. I'll get on it," and then. And then also John White chimes in again saying the elbow room was still doing its thing in the late 1980s and early 90s when he was there.
That's awesome. That's great. I didn't know exactly when it went down. I don't know. It was great. It was Wednesday was hump day, Thursday was a little Friday, and Friday was happy hour. That was the lineup. And then Saturday was free for all.
But one of the things that I know you write about in the book is tailgating at Elmhurst, and that's currently where my family and I tailgate with some other friends. And what are your memories of following the Pirates, be it in football, baseball, or otherwise, over the last few decades?
Well, like you said, we tailgate. It's a group of us. It's all football players. It's probably 7 or 8 that actually park there and then there's another 7 or 8 or sometimes more that maybe they park somewhere else, somewhere else in the stadium, but they all come over to our place, come over and they hang out. We tell lies, we hug each other, and we love each other, and it's so awesome. I just look forward to it every year. And as a matter of fact, I've decided I've been going to the Tailgate Plaza and another place to do book signings. This is the last home game. I want to be with my guys this Saturday. So I'm going to do a book. I'm going to have books, and I'm going to put it out on not eBay, on Facebook and wherever else I can. That's where I'm going to be. If you want a book, please come by and see me and meet my teammates and stuff like that. But my happy ass is not going to go somewhere else. I'm going to sit right there with my teammates, and hopefully I can sell some books there too. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll definitely promote that once you put it on Facebook. We'll share it on our social media as well, and encourage folks to come by. I had the honor and privilege of meeting you, I guess about a month ago now, before the Tulsa game, that last Thursday night game.
Yeah.
They're at the Tailgate Plaza, and there were several folks dropping in to purchase a copy, and then also get pictures and just chat for a few.
Yeah, that's what's so fun. It really is. I think that was the game. People have just started calling me and emailing me and stuff, and saying, if they bought it through eBay, they'd like to, stop by and meet me and things like that, which is very flattering. There was I can't think of his name. I think his last name may have been Radford. He was a wrestler.
Yeah, Mike Radford.
I think he called me. I was coming. I left Greenville after that Thursday night game, and I get this phone call, and it's him. I didn't know him, never met him. He just says, "I've got your book" and all that. And we talked for 30 minutes. It was the quickest ride home I've ever had. It was awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, Mike's a good family friend of ours. Like you mentioned, was a wrestler, and a very, very good wrestler for Coach Welburn there back in the mid-'70s, when the Pirates were really kicking butt on the mat and winning a lot of championships, and not losing many matches to in-state programs. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But before we let you go, we got to get your thoughts on Blake Harrell and this current Pirate team. The Pirates 6-3 overall, 4-1 in the American, and a big game on Saturday afternoon against the Memphis Tigers, who come in at 8-2. And you can't help but just kind of beam with pride with the job that Blake Harrell and his staff are doing. I hear him a lot of these press conferences and media availabilities, and it's so apparent that Blake gets it, and it's just such a breath of fresh air, seeing the approach he has and the way he loves East Carolina.
He does. This past spring, I had never personally met him until this past spring, and I was in the middle of writing my book. So I called up Steve Shankweller, who is the director of alumni relations for the football program. I said, "Look, I would love to meet him and get my picture, and I'd like to put our picture together in the book." He said, "Fine." Spring game. It was the spring game. I think it was the Friday before the spring game. So I went there, I met, and then also that same day I met Coach Godwin, and so I met both of the head coaches the same day. We got our picture taken and all that, and Coach Blake. That's what I call him, Coach Blake. Just the nicest person, down to earth, easy to talk to. I said, "Man, I would love to play for somebody like that." And just genuine as he could be. I sent him a book, and immediately, this was my book wasn't public. I didn't have the books in my hand until like September 10th or something like that. So I sent him a copy of the book. He said, look, please send me a copy. So I sent him a copy. He took a picture of the book and texted me back saying, hey, Dickie, I got the book. I love the cover. Can't wait to read it, like that. I went, wow, here's the head football coach before playing a game. Here he's doing that. And he does that with everybody. I mean, he gets it. You know what I mean? The small things. That's a very small thing to him, or could be. But he took 30 seconds to do that. I saw him at the Hall of Fame banquet. He came right up to me. He said, I got your book. I've been a little busy. Haven't been able to read it yet. I said, I know, Coach. That's okay. Just things like that. So I'm very excited for him. I'm excited for the football team. Looking forward to Saturday. I was shocked. I was shocked when I saw that we were favored by 2.5 or 3 points.
Yep. We are. The Pirates are 2.5 point favorite against the Memphis Tigers on Saturday afternoon. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I think you were starting to say something else.
No, that's all. I just said, wow, I can't. What?
Yeah.
Memphis was the number one team to be in the playoffs until they got beat last week by Tulane, and then all of a sudden they got beat by Tulane. We're favored to beat them. I mean, home team supposedly gets 3 points, so Vegas is saying it's a push, more or less. So anyway, boy,
Brandon Lewis, their very talented quarterback, a dual threat guy. He's thrown for about 23 or 2,400, and then also run for 500 or 600. But he's hobbled a little bit. To what degree, we don't know, and that's kind of the wait and see. There are 3 guys we're prepping for. They have a couple of talented redshirt freshmen as well as a true freshman. One of which I think is the true freshman, but one of those guys, I think he's from perhaps the Atlanta area, and he was in one of the top 5 to 10 quarterbacks in the country coming out, per ESPN and their recruiting rankings. So definitely intrigued, but that's the thing, Dick, as you look at this team early on, the Pirates struggled with penalties so much. They were struggling in the red zone, even though they were moving the football well between the 20s. And as the season has progressed, the penalty problem has largely gone away. And then also the Pirates have been extremely efficient in the red zone over the last 4 games.
Yeah, the red zone issue was crazy. Those first 3 or 4 games, there was fumbles, penalties, I think some questionable plays that were called. But we couldn't do anything. But now it seems like it's gotten a lot better. It really has.
No doubt. Well, we appreciate you spending 45 minutes with us. We're glad that we're able to finally get this done. Having 2 kids in middle school, and also, having been sick a little over the last few days, we've had to kick the can down the road. But I appreciate your patience, and appreciate you sending me a copy of the book, and I look forward to continue reading it, and we'll definitely report back. But before we let you go, I had another couple questions. Comments and questions here on YouTube. John White said, the iconic part is the Elbow Room building is now the Greenville Pitt County Convention and Visitors Bureau. And then also a couple more from Kenny Curlings saying, we tailgate right beside the Pirate Radio tailgate zone. Where are you in the Elmhurst lot?
Okay. Yeah, that's how I've got to figure out. And I know you said you're going to help me communicate that. I've got to figure out how to communicate it. But it's what's it called? Fieldside Street is right behind Town Bank, right? And
Correct. But behind Town Bank Tower, you have Blackbeard's Alley, which is, of course, the name where the name of the podcast came from. When I was sitting here thinking, I was like, what can we call it? This original, and then so that's the origin of that. But then, in addition to Blackbeard's Alley running behind Town Bank Tower, you have, I think it's West Berkeley.
Yeah, you got Berkeley running directly behind the stadium on the scoreboard side, and you've got Fieldside Street. At that intersection, if you just walk straight across the road, and that's where we tailgate. It's just almost straight across the road. I've just got to figure out how to communicate it. So people, because Elmhurst is a big lot on the other side and everywhere else, I guess. I don't know. But we've always tailgated there. We've done it for 55 years. We're always there.
He said, do you tailgate with Chuck Z?
Chucky Z, yeah. Zadnik, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Chuck's in charge of our tailgate, Kenny. Great guy. Great guy. Tell Kenny to come over and see us.
There you go, Kenny. There's your invitation. And Johnny Gardner also chiming in. He says, in the tree line.
Yeah, it's if you just walk straight from that intersection, we're going to be, if you kept walking straight, you run into some woods. So we're lined up on that back right before you get to the woods. And it's going to be about 8 or 9 cars that all of our guys there. So that's where I'm going to be. I've got to figure out how to do a sign or something. I got to figure out how to communicate it. And then I got to figure out what I'm going to do to stick in the ground and say, go this way or something. I don't know. We'll work it out. We'll figure it out.
Sounds good. But yeah, where we tailgate, he says, Kenny says, you're right behind the pirate radio tent. So yeah, definitely sounds you're extremely close to where my family and I are as well. Because if we were standing behind the boneyard facing the school, we're to the right of the school there's a playground, and
Yes.
We're not far beyond that playground. Like if you were to walk to the right of the school, if you're facing the school, we're right there. There's a little shed, where they have some maintenance stuff for the school, and we're right there beside that shed.
Yeah, we're probably
Sounds like you're no more than 50 to 100 yards from us.
Yeah, if you would take that same, if you would walk to the playground and by the Porta Johns, you know where the Porta Johns are?
Yep.
Okay, just walk past those, like away from the stadium. We're all down there on the left side. I mean, just from where the Porta Johns are, we're the first couple cars are probably 25 yards from there, maybe not even that far. So we line up and we're right in front of the trees. And it's the entrance. There's a car. You probably go to that entrance, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The entrance right down there off of Berkeley Street.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. We normally, my dad, if I'm riding with him and I'm not parking and walking to meet them, yes, sir, we'll come in off of Greenville Boulevard and make that left there, and then kind of wind our way back through there.
Yeah.
And Kenny Curling says that he works with Chuck.
Oh, good. Chuck's a great guy. He is awesome. When you take that road in there, we're right on the right side. We're the only people on the right. It's about 8 or 10 of us right there together, right as soon as you turn in there.
Seems like maybe the road off of Greenville Boulevard, maybe it's Forest View, Forest something, but
Forest Hill or something.
Forest Hills, yeah.
And then you turn left or you get on Berkeley, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then you go down, you turn right into Elmhurst.
Yep. Whatever the road is, you off of Greenville Boulevard, like if you're coming from the mall, you'll make the left, and then you'll go down there and make the left, and that takes you around to the entrance where they'll check your pass. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But really appreciate the time. Any final message that you have for Pirate Nation before we wrap this up tonight?
Wow.
I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but
No, it's okay. No, I just first of all appreciate you having me on. I know I've been on your podcast, five or 6 years ago, but I appreciate you doing that. And you always have advertised where I'm going to be, so that's super helpful. And I appreciate that very much. I just want the readers to know that that I just had a really great time writing this book. It was fun. People would tell me, I can't remember what went on 2-3 days ago. But when I'm writing this book, I remember conversations that I've had with my teammates, with coaches, with the owner of the Elbow Room. It's just amazing the recall I have that I had when I was writing this book. It was so. Anyway, I just give it a shot. Hope you like it. Let me know.
So there you see, for our viewers, you can purchase on eBay, as Dick has mentioned several times. And then one final comment here from Kenny Curlings. He said that his party, they're the live music tailgaters, and sorry we're noisy.
That's okay. It's fun. I tell you what, we have such a good time over there. It's awesome. It is really cool.
But Pirate Nation, that is ECU Hall of Famer, two-sport star Dick Corrada. Last week, if you've not heard these episodes, when we caught up with the captain, Shane Carden, definitely go back and check out that interview. Also, Justin Hardy, his top target from 2012 to 2014. And then 17, of course, Dwayne Harris, who wore the purple and gold from 2006 to 2010. All very, very good and very easy listens, all a half hour or less. But that will do it for this edition of Blackbeard's Alley. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Be sure to like, follow, comment, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you soon here on the podcast. As always, go Pirates.
Go Pirates.
And a purple